Congratulations. If you are watching this video, that means you've been invited to participate in an interview for the stipends for either the summer or the fall. I'm going to provide a little bit of information in advance that you should review prior to the interview. It will address most of your questions, and then at the end of the interview, there will be an opportunity to ask questions that were not covered through this video. So what can you expect from the interview? You can expect that you will be asked very similar questions to the application itself. I did not review your application. It was reviewed by somewhere else. So there are no trick questions. Really just think about, ultimately, we want to know more about the student, why they deserve a stipend, and why the funding that these alumni provide should be given to this particular student. The interviews are 15 to 30 minutes. In most cases, we will start on time. If for some reason you're still in the waiting room, it means I'm finishing up with a student, and I won't let you in until I'm ready to speak with you. And just keeping in mind that while getting to the interview is a great sign, it doesn't guarantee that you will receive the stipend. How can you prepare for the interview? It is important to prepare. So one thing is, know your application, know your answers to the questions that you provided there. Review some of the stipend videos on our YouTube channel, because you'll see previous winners. You'll hear Marge Magner speak, and a lot of the winners, a good portion, are Marge Magner winners. So you can learn about her philosophy and why she provides stipends for students. I suggest practicing with family or friends to just kind of get some of the nerves out. And then, make sure that you're planning out where the interview is going to be, that you have good connection, that it will be quiet, that it's, a good neutral background, or, virtual. And then the day of, make sure that you are on time. That's critical. And that you're wearing a business casual top. And then overall, as you prepare, think about, if you were interviewing someone and you had money to give them, what would you want them to say, or what would you ask them to help you decide whether they should get the money? What happens if you're late or you can't make the scheduled time? If you are late, you will miss the interview. If you don't show up for the interview, you will miss the interview. I will not reschedule. If you do notify me in advance, at least an hour, in terms of, being late for some reason, or at least a day if you're not going to be able to attend at all, I will try my best to see if I can reschedule, but it will depend on the scheduling, because I try to block off that whole time to really get all these interviews done as quickly as possible, so that students can get their answers back as soon as possible. So there are no guarantees that if you miss the interview and need to reschedule, that I can allow that. If you're selected as a finalist, so you're moving on to the next round, what happens next? We're going to ask you about your internship site. You will fill out a form that gives you details, or asks details around the internship. Make sure the information is accurate. We do verify the details on there, and if we find that it is not accurate, then we will remove you from the process. If the site is approved, then the next part is for you to submit a thank you letter to your donor. You will also need to submit paperwork such as tax forms, I-9. You will need a Social Security card. If you're an international student, then there will be additional paperwork. The way it works is that you receive half of the award towards the beginning, keeping in mind that taxes are withheld, so it won't be the full amount. And it takes a few weeks after you've submitted the paperwork. So imagine at least 3 weeks or so for you to get the funding after you've submitted your paperwork. If you are selected to receive the Marge Magner, which is one of the most common, then you will also need to go to a meeting with her, either in person or virtually. And then in the middle of the internship, we contact your supervisor. We ask them to complete an evaluation form, just to make sure that you did a good job and that you did the hours that we require. And after that, that's when you receive the second half. And again, taxes are withheld. What else should you know? So keep in mind that about 30% of those who apply are selected. By being interviewed, your chances are a little bit higher, because we've eliminated some candidates at this point. The other thing to keep in mind is sometimes students aren't selected at this at the point of the interview, and that has happened where maybe a month later, some students, for different reasons, don't use the award, we will go back to the list to identify new winners to receive the award. We want to give everybody as much of the awards out as possible. So when we notify students of the decision, you're either selected or you're notified that you are sort of on a waiting list in case there are cancellations, or we will let you know that you are not selected. If you are not selected, or if you're on the waiting list, we suggest that you proceed as though you're not receiving the award and make decisions accordingly, because we just never know when we're going to go back to the list. It's important that all the information you provide is accurate and not misleading. If we do determine that some of the information you gave us is not correct, then you will not receive this stipend. If the site is approved and then you have issues with the site, or for whatever reason you need to change the site, or you can't continue with the internship, you need to reach out to me in advance to discuss, to see what we can work out, if we can find you a new site, or what other options there are possibly. If you have questions about, after this, after we've watched the video, after we've spoken, then you could reach out to the mailbox stipend@brooklyn.cuny.edu.